Hi everyone, Joshua Kirk here with you once again. Now it's time for episode 136 of Album of the Day. Finally doing it, and this is my first review of 2017 right here. Before we get into it, I'd just like to talk about the shirt I'm wearing. I finally have a Drive-By Truckers t-shirt for It's Ready to Be Alive, which is like the name of a live album that they have out, which I actually have the vinyl box set of that. I haven't really listened to it yet, but I'm gonna have to, listen to it sometime when I have really the time to do it. But you may remember, in my last few videos, which are my top 50 favorite albums of 2016, I put Drive-By Truckers' new record at number 3. So 3, if you remember. This is my very first review of 2017. There's still a few more 2016 albums that I do want to cover, because, it may be a little while before I eventually get to listen to 2017 releases, pretty much. The first of those 2016 records that I want to, go ahead and cover, include this one, which I'm kind of ending my 6 review streak of Yep Rock albums that I've been talking about in the past few these past few weeks. With this one over here. I'm here to talk about a band that's been around since like the early 80s that, have definitely been pioneers in like underground rock music pretty much, and blending together styles like rockabilly and blues and, American rock and roll into their music. The band that I'm talking about is named the Fleshtones, they've been signees with Yep Rock for a little while now. It's pretty much been like their home for kind of a good amount of time there. So I'm here to review their latest album, which came out in September 2nd, 2016, and this one's at number 13 on my list if you watch the videos. The album is called The Band Drinks for Free. And, this record, like I said, it's at number 13 on my list. This is a really great album. Definitely one of my favorite, underground rock albums this year. And one of the best releases that I think Yep Rock has put out in 2016. You can tell because it's pretty high on my list. This is what the CD copy of the record looks like. And then there's the liner notes there. And then there's like a picture of the band playing live. Other photo there. There's the CD in there. Yeah, basically nothing but, light blue underneath that disc. So, yeah, that's the CD version of the Fleshtones album, The Band Drinks for Free. So, yeah, even though I'm reviewing this album, I don't really know a whole lot about the Fleshtones. I haven't really scoped out their older stuff, really, but it's probably okay because, they're not necessarily the kind of band where you really have to scope out their older stuff to really appreciate what they do. So I'm sort of still a newbie to them, but I'm really digging, this record right here. I definitely do think it's definitely kind of a boozy, fun, raucous, and but also a very passionate and well-written kind of rock record right here. and on here they prove that they're still relevant as like underground rock pioneers, pretty much. It's like underground, round rock and roll pioneers, pretty much. And like the and like and all right, sorry for that little moment of silence there, but let's just continue with the review. Um, like and it's definitely the album's definitely got some like great energy to it, pretty much. With some amazing guitar riffs on here from Keith Strang on here. Great bass lines and drumming on here too, and like I'm gonna talk about specific tracks now that really stood out to me on here. The opener on this album is a cover of Alvin Lee's "Love Like a Man." Love Like a Man, and it definitely does start out the album on a really good note, like with an infectious little guitar line, as well as an eighth note organ blast, as well as a little bit of swagger to it with the hand percussion, especially with the really nice use of the conga drums on there. And also it's got a little bit of like soulful backing vocals and stuff like that against Peter Zaremba's kind of smoky sort of he's sort of vocal there, and then it closes out with some really nice soul vocals from what's his name? Lisa Kekula, courtesy of the Bell Rays. Did a really nice kind of solo vocal performance at the end of the song too, and it's just a lot of fun. It really does sort of open the album with a real sort of kick, pretty much. A bulk of this record definitely are like there are plenty of great like kind of like love songs on this album. Love My Lover is one example of that. Is a big example of that. Great song there. But and then also it has some nice elements of soul into the track list here, like on the song Respect Our Love, which like the song Respect Our Love, which features some amazing soulful vocals from soulful fiery vocals on it from co-frontman Keith Strang. Pretty much. And I do also really like kind of the slinky slide guitar on the song. Piano also pops up in the arrangement here, which sounds great on there too. On there too. Ooh, like the backing vocals too. Like I like kind of the gospel flavor of this song. But some other great tracks on here that I really like are like the song Rick Wakeman's Cape, which features kind of a rhythmic organ line that plays throughout the song, giving it that kind of distinctive sound, pretty much, that I really like a lot. And I like sort of I do really like the lyrics on this track. Probably especially that third verse where the protagonist seems to be really kind of like just just head over heels for like this like a girl that he saw pretty much said he's like it says how you're the pick of you're uh, you're a real fine critter. You're the pick of the litter, and sort of wanted him to wanted to wrap her in that like sort of this cape that is referred to as you know that's referred to some special one that can't be bought or any that can't really be bought or sold or anything like that. Um, Sold or anything like that. So yeah, definitely one of my favorite songs here. Um, mm, mm, and like another one of so that was like a Peter Zaremba composition there. Another Peter Zaremba composition on here that I really like is the song "Living Today," which I really like, which is also kind of a you know love song pretty much, but definitely a good one at that. The um, Definitely a good one at that. The instrumentation on this song sounds great, especially like the combination of the slide guitar and the harmonica on the solo. It sounds very distinctive on there. Pretty much, it's against some really is against some really beautiful vocal kind of kind of almost shadowy vocal harmonies from Brad Shepard on here is the main backing vocalist on here, and he sounds really nice on there. It's on there, and also a really cool bass line at the end of the song too. It's just 10 seconds, but it still leaves pretty big impression. Has a distinctive grooviness to it that I really like a lot. On on I'll talk a little more about some of Keith Strang's compositions on here. There's the song "Too Many Memories," which is sort of a song which seems to sort of talk about how in the many years that the Fleshtones have been a band, there have always been sort of that there's always been sort of that audience that's kind of like breeze by them a little bit. So it sort of talks about how people in your life tend to pass you by a little too soon. Tend to pass you by a little too soon, pretty much. Much as the kid, because the kids come and the kids grow up pretty much. Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of a song sort of reflecting on growing up and how there's just so many memories that you can't really bring them all back pretty much, because otherwise it would make your life maybe a little discombobulated. Another great string composition on here is the song "How to Make a Day," which has a little bit of a psychedelic feel with the mellotron and the really unique guitar solo in the middle as well, which I thought was pretty cool on there. And some pretty inventive lyrics on this track about sort of wishing you could just maybe make a day that you're not so proud of, just go away pretty much. And I like the line of if I had a time machine, I'd do it all over again. Yeah, and I like the way that the guitar sort of blends with the mellotron, creating a pretty distinctive solo there, showing String's abilities as a pretty, distinctive guitar player, pretty much. really nice piano and acoustic guitar in the song, and also I like the incorporation of uh, church bells and like street sounds. Uh, and street sounds like at the beginning and the end of the song, sort of making it seem like kind of some sort of like movie or something like that, or like some kind of time warp in a time machine or something like that, which I think sounds really cool on there. Um, some other pretty strong Zarimba compositions on here include like the really bluesy, the woozy blues anthem, "The Sinner," which features this really gorgeous smoky harmonica on it that go on there that I really like a lot. As well as lyrics that sort of paint this really vivid picture of this man who is whenever I listen to the song, I envision like this man like in a bar all by himself, and, like the music's ended and everybody else in the bar has gone home, but he's still in there, drinking and smoking and sort of drowning in sorrows a little bit because of how he'll never be forgiven because he's a sinner basically. But I like kind of the vivid picture it paints, that it paints of this man alone in a bar that's all dark and everybody else has left, even the bartender pretty much. Tender, but so I think it kind of envisions him as kind of someone who pretty much considers the bar like his home pretty much. Which I really like a lot. And also, some great guitar playing on this song too. I'll get into a few songs that I haven't highlighted yet. There's a couple of great Ken Fox compositions on here. There's Suburban Roulette, which I really like a lot. Kind of, a fun sort of piano-laced barroom anthem, pretty much that I really like. It's and again, some other, and again, it says some great lyrics on this track. And I like kind of the diversity in both the Ken Fox compositions. Like with this one, just and he's sort of singing in kind of a smoky kind of groan pretty much. But then we have "Stupid Old Son," which is a much more tender moment here. One of my favorite songs in here that's kind of folky, acoustic, maybe a little alt country in there too. Maybe a little alternative country in there, and he's kind of singing in kind of a little bit of a softer voice, but still leaving an impression with lyrics about we're just kind of looking down. We tend to look down on everybody as if we were the sun or something like that. As we're all kind of looking for faith and like all the good in life, pretty much. And all the good in life, pretty much. As we're kind of paying attention to everyone, of course. Like that stupid old son. And I like the catchy little backup vocals on here of shining down on everyone on there. And I'll talk about it. I'll talk about a couple more tracks before I head out. The album closes with the Zarimba composition before I go, and while this song isn't bad necessarily, I do think that it is probably the weakest track on here for me because mostly because it doesn't really have as strong of a lyrical point. Pretty much, it's maybe a little too blunt for my taste. And also it kind of ends abruptly, meaning it fades out, and when albums end with tracks that fade out, it leaves it kind of ending abruptly a little bit. Um, but lastly, I want to highlight another cover on here that I think is great. The song "The Gasser," which I don't know like who did the original rendition of the song, but I think the way the Fleshtones did it was really nice with the kind of with the heavily tremoloed guitars as well as the infectious little guitar and organ interplay on the hook on that track, and it seems to talk about a man who is nicknamed the Gasser because he always acts and talks real tough pretty much, and nobody knows how his time is spent, if he was doing wrong or right, or something like that. Like he kind of has a job to do, and nobody really sees him, and nobody really knows if this man's maybe a nice guy or if he's just being a jerk or something like that, or just trying to be obnoxious and rude or something like that. And it somehow kind of fits in with kind of the the boozy sort of flow of the record, pretty much. So yeah, a great cover there, as well as "Love Like a Man." So yeah, overall, even though I'm still kind of you notice, I'm not really very well versed in the Fleshtones yet. But still, I really enjoyed this record. I think overall it's been a very consistent year for Yep Rock in terms of the releases they've been putting out. I don't know why, I kind of have a bit of a connection to a lot of their releases, mostly because I am an honorary completist now, so I get pretty much every CD they put out, and I'm like the unofficial Yep Rock Records reviewer, pretty much. And yeah, I really like this record. I'm kind of, I'm going with maybe a strong 8 to a light 9 on this thing. 9 on this thing, because, it is definitely a fantastic record, and so yeah, stick record pretty much, very intelligent, very passionate, some good energy to it, some good energy to it, and it shows and this album is definitely very much kind of, undisputed, and this album is very much, undisputed, American rock and roll, and they're kind of single-handedly keeping that alive, which I think is good here. So yeah, that's my review of the new Fleshtones album. The band drinks for free. I'll see you for episode 137. And happy belated New and happy slightly belated New Year, everybody.